Okay, Friday afternoon. Again, my favorite day to talk, and my favorite vice commentator, Greg Raffetto, is on the line. And Greg, real quick question before I formally introduce you after my comments. Did you catch a fish last weekend?
Fishing was good. Fishing, we caught one fish, and it was barely big enough to eat. But boy, I bashed it over the head with a pair of channel locks and went home and fried it up and ate it.
What a good caveman. Yeah, that's great. Tastes better when you catch it too, right? It's like a primal instinct. Oh, man. Okay. Do I still have you there, Greg?
Sure do.
Oh, good. Okay. I lost my earpiece for a second. Okay. Oh, now, let's get into this. This is a tough one. Even tough for libertarians who seem to have all the answers all the time. This is abortion. And figure if we're going to talk about social issues and vice, we got to come out on record and try to state our views. And I want to spend the whole time on it today, just so we don't short it, because it's not an easy one to talk about. I was inspired to do this, to ask you about this, when I read Ann Coulter's latest column called 49 Million to 5, in which she's referring to 49 million aborted babies since Roe v. Wade versus 5 aborted abortion doctors where people went and shot them. And that just happened last week. George Tiller, an abortion doctor, was murdered in church. He had been targeted for many years. He was one of 2 or 3 abortion doctors that would do late-term abortions, so he was particularly targeted by the radical element of the pro-life crowd. So in her article, she says, she contrasts the liberal tendency to defend Muslims as peaceful. By way of analogy, she says liberals will defend Muslims as peaceful, but they won't defend America's 150 million pro-lifers as peaceful. And she kind of the 49 million to 5 is like it's a way, I think, of saying that she's saying, well, is this really balanced? Only 5 abortion doctors have been killed. I don't really like that tone. A lot of things she does are very, very confrontational. But here's what she says in her last couple of paragraphs. She says, the official web page of the abortion-supporting Evangelical Lutheran Church of America instructs, quote, a developing life in the womb does not have an absolute right to be born, unquote. And then Ann continues saying, as long as we're deciding who does and doesn't have an absolute right to be born, who's to say that late-term abortionists have an absolute right to live? Then she says, I wouldn't kill an abortionist myself, but I wouldn't want to impose my moral values on others, which is kind of an indirect incitement. Then she says, no one is for shooting abortionists. But how will criminalizing men make it difficult, making difficult, often tragic decisions be an effective means of achieving the goal of reducing shootings of abortionists? Following the moral precepts of liberals, I believe the correct position is, if you don't believe in shooting abortionists, then don't shoot one. So you can see what she's doing. She's playing with words here, substituting shooting abortionists for having an abortion, and trying to point out the hypocrisy of the pro-choicers. She's ignoring the fact, of course, that abortion is legal and shooting abortionists is not. And also, she's ignoring the hypocrisy of a murdering pro-lifer. If you say you're pro-life and then you go murder somebody, that's kind of the worst hypocrisy. So that aside, she is raising the argument, which is at the heart of the libertarian center of the argument, is the right to life. And the Declaration asserts the right to life and liberty. And again, the question, and then the question centers on whether a fetus has a right to life. So I think libertarians is divided as the country is on abortion. For instance, Congressman Ron Paul a doctor who's delivered 4,000 babies is clearly pro-life, but and I'm pro-life. But I don't define life at conception. I think that life really starts when the embryo attaches to the uterus and starts growing. But I think the law does not protect fetuses, but I think it should to some extent. Obviously, for health reasons, there should be considerations. And I believe that once a girl gets pregnant, she should have the baby, give it up for adoption if she doesn't want it. And also, as a libertarian, I think they should liberalize the adoption laws and allow women to be compensated for carrying a baby that they're going to give up for adoption. But that's another argument. So let me officially welcome you, Greg. You are the ex-Chippendale and law graduate, and very much interested in libertarian vice issues across the board, and we have a lot of fun talking about this stuff. But this one is hard to have fun about. Abortion is one of the darkest topics, on the slate. So what do you think? First, comment on the assassination, then we'll get into abortion in general.
Well, certainly, your right to live is that's across the board, including abortionists. And I don't think that people should be going around shooting abortionists, for God's sake. But I understand where they're coming from by way of wanting to protect the unborn fetus. And this guy is one of the few doctors performing late-term abortions or partial birth abortions. And this he's got a right to live. I'm completely against shooting abortionists.